Yo, what's up, guys? It's Cone back again today with another video, and today we're going to take a look at some of your controversial NBA opinions. I just tweeted this out earlier today. What time is it right now? 6. So about 3 hours ago, asking for you guys for some controversial NBA opinions. There are some like I kind of understand in here, and then some that I just don't think make any sense. We'll get to a bit of each of those. I'll look through as many as I can in probably like 10, 12-ish minutes. I got a timer over here to keep me on track. So before I get into it, real quick, drop me below if you have any suggestions for video ideas you want to see. I'm trying to figure out some new stuff to do, trying to do a lot more of these Twitter-based videos. So just let me know what kind of content you're looking for, and I'll just go ahead and get into it. Drop a like also too if you like this type of video. So we'll start off with the Spurs have a shot at the Western Conference Finals. No, they're just not good enough. Obviously they have great coaching. DeMar has been great, probably, or he is an All-Star caliber player this season. I don't think that's a question. Whether or not he actually gets in is another thing, but no, I don't see any way they end up in the Western Conference Finals. Sixers have definitely gotten better, but I still don't think they're ready to win a title. I think they are. I think especially when they make a move or two at the deadline, which I expect them to. I think that this Sixers team is a title contender. Blake Griffin will come to OKC. I hope not. He's just not good anymore. There's no reason for him to be here. If he wants to go, like at this point, I want to see Blake Griffin win a ring. I don't want to see him in OKC, a team that's trying to rebuild. The Jazz are the biggest threat out west and should be the favorite to win the conference. I don't want to say that because obviously the NBA relies a lot on star power. So not having like a top 5 or 10 player is a huge disadvantage for a lot of teams in the playoffs. So the Jazz don't have a guy like LeBron. They don't have a Kawhi Leonard, which are like probably the two biggest guys. They don't have an Anthony Davis. They don't have a Paul George. Obviously, they do have a Donovan Mitchell, who's been great this season. But to say they're the biggest threat out west, I just don't know about that. If other teams aren't healthy, then potentially. You could try and make this argument. I just don't see them as the biggest threat right now. Pump fake lean in shots should be on the floor every time. I don't hate this. It's tough, obviously, because technically it is a jump shot, but it's anytime someone's doing that, it's not a shot, or it's not attempting to actually take a real shot. It's only trying to draw the foul. So I wouldn't hate this, honestly. I don't like the whole pump fake lean in thing, even if it is smart. I don't think if a player is jumping towards you and you still fire it up and they're like coming at you, like they're gonna hit you anyways. I get that, but if a player like lands like a foot to your right and you like sidestep, like jump into him, like I almost might have even went off the camera there. If you have to go way off to the side to hit the player, then I think that foul is kind of cheap. So I wouldn't mind this, honestly. Curry, Harden, and CP3 are all top 5 all time at their position. Yes. D Rose is not a Hall of Famer. He's on the fringe. I don't know if he is or not. Obviously, MVP is a huge accolade. We have to see how the rest of his season goes. I think getting a ring might be huge for him, especially if he contributes to that. But like being on a team like the Knicks right now, that's not going to get him there. He's got to join a contender at some point. Kyle Kuzma went from one of the most overrated to underrated players. Kyle Kuzma has become really underrated. He's a great player for that. Lakers team, I think they got him up in a pretty decent contract, especially being an important piece of their championship team last year. I think Kyle Kuzma is an underrated player, yeah. Let's see. Gobert is overrated. Okay, we'll come back to this one because I'm sure we're going to see something in a little bit too that I want to talk about. So Gobert is overrated. We'll get to that in a second. Scott Brooks is such an amazing coach. Yeah, this is sarcastic. Scott Brooks needs to be fired. Ben Simmons doesn't need a jump shot to be a top 5 player. I think he might need a jump shot to be a top 5 player, but I don't think he needs a jump shot for the Sixers and him to be very, very successful. I think this has been proven the other day when he had an incredible game against the Jazz. They almost won despite not having Embiid. Ben Simmons does so many things other than just jump shooting. Obviously, jump shot would be... I've said this a million times. I've talked about Ben Simmons so many times, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But obviously, Ben Simmons doesn't need a jump shot to still be a really good player because he is a really good player without a very good one. Indiana has a decent shot of making it to the conference finals. I don't know. I guess it depends how TJ Warren looks and if the guys could kind of find their groove again. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. They started really, really hot, and they've kind of... it's fallen off a little bit. We got to see how Karis LeVert looks when he eventually plays, if he plays. TJ Warren, so I don't know. The Thunder should have run it back this year with CP3 Adams and SGA. No, the team was good. It wasn't good enough. We weren't going to beat this Lakers team. We weren't going to beat this. We wouldn't beat the big 3 Nets. Wouldn't beat this Clippers team. We just wouldn't. SGA is a great player. CP3 is a great player. Adams is awesome. It just wouldn't have been enough, especially because we would have lost Gallinari too. GOAT conversations and player is better than player B arguments are lame and childish. I don't want to say childish. They can be kind of lame. Like sometimes people just bring up these arguments just for the hell of it, like just completely unprovoked. If you just tweet out like this player's greater than that player, like I don't really get that. That's never something I've really done just because I don't see the point in it. If they're two great players, they're both great players. If someone asks my opinion on something, I could give my opinion. Like if someone asks me, "Oh, is SGA greater than whoever?" Then I can give my opinion on that. But I'm not just gonna like tweet out like, "Yo, this player's way better than this guy. This guy sucks," because I like to kind of more appreciate the players than kind of put guys down. Goat conversation is so overdone and tired. I don't think I'll ever make a video on the goat conversation, just because there's like these talk show like Undisputed, like First Take, stuff like that. Like they talk about the GOAT debate every single day. It's just so unnecessary at this point. There's no point to it. Malik Monk is a star now. Curry's the second best of all time now. Bradley Beal doesn't deserve to be an All-Star last season. You could argue that. He doesn't deserve to be one this season though. We'll move on. Beal's leading the league in scoring. He deserves to be an All-Star. Also, the Wizards aren't that bad. Like, the Wizards aren't very good, but they're only like a couple games out of the playoffs. It's not like they're like 1-30 or something. Embiid will run the 2020s. I like this. I think Embiid's going to be one of the best players in the league for this upcoming decade. I'm excited to watch him play. Miles Turner Defensive Player of the Year. Nah, that's not. I don't think that's that unpopular. The Blazers are a better team without CJ. I don't want to argue that. Dame's just playing on another level right now. Let's see. LeBron isn't top 10 right now or all time. Both are wrong. The Jazz are going to be the first seed by at least 10 games. That would be impressive. With COVID and stuff, I don't know. Like, I guess if Paul George's injury like is lingering, then maybe. But he did end up playing last night, so I don't think it's too bad. I think that he'll be okay. He might take some rest games. The reason I could see this is if the Lakers and Clippers decide to rest guys, if AD's out for a long period of time. But I think that the first seed is super important, so I see them trying to make it up there. Marcus Morris is the Clippers' third best player, along with Patrick Beverley. You could say that. Yeah, you could say that. James Harden is the second best player in the league. I don't think so. He's definitely up there. I want to make a video about how good the league is right now, because there's like 15 guys you could say are top 10. There's like 10 or 12 guys you could say are top 5, and I wouldn't like bat an eye at it. Joel Embiid is better than Giannis. I can't say that just because Giannis is Giannis. I don't want to say that. Joel Embiid is better than the two-time MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, reigning MVP and Defensive Player of the Year last season. I don't want to say that. Well, I don't think this now, but when Harrison Barnes was traded to the Mavericks, I thought Steph held him back and he would be top 5 in MVP voting. I'm going to pretend I didn't read that. Zion will become a modern Blake Griffin, good for about 7 years, dramatic fall off, no rings or MVPs. I hope not. I think Zion has more potential than Blake Griffin. Zion's really good. He's been incredible this season. Tim Duncan is top for all time. I don't think so, but you could try and argue it. I'm not super into all-time lists just because I didn't watch so many of those guys play, so I don't know how accurately I can kind of defend that. So, I don't know. I'm not huge into all-time lists. I don't think I'll ever make like my all-time list thing either. Let's see. Players like Zion, Hero, Stockton aren't overrated and are actually underrated because of how much people hate on them and call them overrated. Overrated and underrated is so, like, that's just such like a weird term to me, because you can underrating guys and overrating guys is such like, it's just a weird concept when you think about it. The fact that a player is overrated, like what does that mean? Like obviously overrated means that people think he's better than he actually is, but I feel like that's such a hard thing to gauge. I don't get into the whole overrated, underrated type thing. I don't know. I just don't get super into that. Vucevic is greater than Gobert and Bam. This is something you can talk. You can talk about Vucevic being better than them this season. I don't know if Vucevic is better than Gobert. Also, Gobert's kind of been MVP candidate so far, so I don't know if he's better than Gobert. Bam, you could try and argue it. Vucevic has been really good this season, and I hope he gets moved at the deadline. The Magic have to take advantage of his trade value. LeBron is the GOAT. Once again, the whole GOAT debate thing. Brandon Ingram is overrated. Another overrated take. Andrew Wiggins is greater than Brandon Ingram. No. MVP has basically nothing to do with defense. Not necessarily. It's definitely, offense is definitely the focus of awards like MVP, but I think defense definitely plays a role in it. Let's see. The Bulls will make the playoffs this year. Maybe. Pistons are the most fun team to watch. No. The Pistons are fun, though. They're better than their record says. Steph Curry is second in the league behind LeBron, a top 3-4 MVP candidate. I don't know if I'd say second in the league, but I would agree he is a top 3-4 MVP candidate. Russell Westbrook's peak was one of the best individual peaks ever. I'm one of the biggest Russell Westbrook fans. You'll meet. I'm a huge fan of his. He's the reason I fell in love with basketball. I do think he had an amazing individual peak. I don't want to say best individual peaks ever, just because I would have to like look into that more instead of just saying that off the top of my head. But that MVP season was incredible. Doc Rivers is overrated. I think at this point, I think a lot of people don't think Doc Rivers is that great of a coach. I think he's a pretty solid coach, so I don't think you could say he's overrated. Here it is. Donovan Mitchell's overrated, as you know. So we talked about the Rudy Gobert being overrated thing. We talked about Donovan Mitchell being overrated, and these are two. Even if we haven't seen them a lot here, I guarantee you there have been a ton of comments on this tweet and on my timeline recently about how both Mitchell and Gobert are overrated, right? And if so, both of those things are true, then who the hell is carrying this Jazz team? Because I guarantee you, Mike Conley's not doing it all by himself. Like, Mike Conley's good, but he's not doing it all by himself. So before you talk about like Mitchell being great or Mitchell being overrated and Gobert being overrated, like you got to think about, why is this team so good? Players go well beyond the stat sheet. Like, I know Donovan Mitchell's not super efficient at times, but he's still a really, really good player. Rudy Gobert is a really, really good player, even though he doesn't put up a ton of points. It's a very well-rounded team, but both of those guys could be considered MVP candidates, and I don't think you could really call them overrated. I think the reason people are saying this overrated thing is because people argued that he can be an MVP candidate, or that people are talking about how, mainly like Charles Barkley and NBA on TNT the other night talked about how he would have Donovan Mitchell starting in the All-Star game, which just isn't an argument really. He's not better than Dame, Curry, or Luka, those three guys. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't like to get into the whole overrated, underrated thing, because I don't have a true gauge. Even though I follow like 11,000 people and I'm able to reach a decent sized audience, it's impossible for me to truly gauge if someone is overrated or underrated, because I'm lacking access to a massive portion of the NBA community. Only following 11,000 people, and there's millions on millions of basketball fans, I can't like accurately like believe that one player is overrated or underrated by the community. And so the only way I have to go off of them or talk about them is with my perspective. And in my perspective, no one is underrated or overrated because I have my perspective, you know. We reached about 12 and a half minutes, so I'll only do a couple more. Not sure why more NBA teams haven't used either of the Pistons championship teams as blueprints for their own season. This one I can answer for you, and that's because it's near impossible. This Pistons team was perfect. Like, team construction, to win without a superstar, you need to be perfect. You need to play perfect basketball. That's why I think it's really tough for this Jazz team to win a NBA title right now, because they don't have that superstar type player. And to win a championship, you need a superstar. Almost always. It's very, very, very rare to win without a superstar. Or at least like an all NBA caliber player, first or second team. And this Pistons team, like I said, they played perfect basketball. You have to play perfect basketball. And so that's not something you can really follow as a blueprint. You could try to mold your team after that, but unless you play that perfect basketball, then it's just not going to happen. If Steph gets another MVP, he's a top 10 player of all time. You could argue that. I think Steph getting another MVP would be huge for his legacy. Mike Conley is an MVP candidate. I don't want to say that just because, like I know I just said numbers on everything, but you do need to put up decent numbers to be an MVP. I think his impact is incredible on the team, and I do think he has been really underrated in that aspect. A massive part of why this Jazz team is super successful. I just don't know if I can list him as an MVP candidate. I guess it just depends what you consider a candidate. Like I said, top 5, top 10, because I would have him probably outside of both of those. Maybe like top 15, I could have him in there, but not 5 or 10. Rudy Gobert can't be your second best player on a championship team. We don't know that yet. And with that, I think we're about 14. I'll end up with this one. The Thunder have too many draft picks. I'm gonna let you know right now, there's no such thing as too many draft picks. There's just not in Sam Presti's world. And with that, I guess we'll call it there. Ja Morant overrated. Man, I kind of want to make a video on the whole overrated, underrated thing, because it's I feel like their terms are so overused. But let me know what you guys think about some of these opinions. Let me know what some of your NBA unpopular opinions are. If you got to this point in the video, drop me an SGA as an all-star down below, rocking the SGA jersey. This is now like the second or third video in a row that I've worn it, because I'm trying to push that SGA all-star agenda. If any media are out there watching this and you have an MVP vote, you know, hit my guy. If any of the coaches are watching it, hit my guy up. But with that being said, I will see you guys later. Everyone, say back.